Hi, folks. This is Mountain Man coming to you from parts unknown. Hi, Tennessee. Hi, Nikki B. Hi, Bubba. How are y'all doing tonight? Ha. Good to see y'all. Well, I tell you what, we have a very interesting week. We're going to be going through here. It's sad in a lot of ways. We've got probably fair to say an imminent state funeral upcoming, and we'll talk about that. And yes, Mr. T rocked it tonight. What was he at, the 47 Club? And we all know what number 47 stands for. And he said an interesting thing that the primaries are less than a year away. And he's like, can you believe it? So, you look at the way things have been going and the way they've been handled. We've all thought, something imminent was going to happen, and we've been on the edge of our seats, sometimes too much so on the edge of our seats. But time has flown by. Hi, Jamie. Hi, Melinda. Hi, Sharon. Hi, Randy. Ha. Niagara Falls. Okay, buddy. Be sparing with the capitals because that denotes shouting, and YouTube is really limp-wristed about that kind of stuff. But welcome aboard. Hello, Mr. Kibler. Hello, Pamela. Jersey Joe. Hi, Robin. Hi, Wanda. Now, Randy, do you remember that skit they used to do? Niagara Falls, the Three Stooges. Slowly I turned, step by step. I'm going to check your age out if you remember this. Hi, B-Dog. I saw you over there in NPC show. Hi, Linda. How you doing, honey? Good to see you. Hi, Diamond. So everybody's showing up. Mike is here at 1176. I always want to say 1776 sometimes when I see that. Hi, Marla. Hi, Linda. So we're rocking and rolling here. And already my dusty brain has dropped. Hi, Jamie. Let's see. Dropped what I was talking about. Randy, do you remember that comedy skit from back in the day? I'm not trying to be nosy about your age, but when we were kids, we would watch the Three Stooges. Slowly I turned. I heard her name. I know a lot of people in the chats will get that. But if you're not familiar with it, I'm sure you can pull a skit up on YouTube. Hi, Stacy. It's funny, or at least it was funny back then. Wilma, how you doing? I went to school with a girl named Wilma. And we always used to go, Wilma, like Fred Flintstone. Yeah, Randy does remember. Okay. There's a delay here with when I see the chats from when you type it in. Also from when I speak, when you hear me. Hi, Christina. Carl Sabo, 51. How you doing? From Louisiana. I'll be darned. I was down there. Spent a lot of time in Louisiana. So let's see. I was talking about how short a time it's going to be till the primaries, less than a year. So as I felt before, and I mentioned in past broadcasts, I even talked to friends on the phone, read, that I was saying last year, we're going to have to go through. I knew we were going to have to go through the midterms. Jersey Joe, how you? And I knew we were going to, now I know, and I've been thinking that we're going to have to go through 2024 because, hey, we have somebody tromp in to straighten everything out for us and throw our system in the trash pail and do these surface arrests. I call them surface arrests. This country wouldn't have learned anything. They wouldn't have suffered anything. They wouldn't have gone to the precipice, and we're not at the precipice. And we've been told that some people got to get to the precipice before they will change. So we're looking at least another year. Now, he could have been saying that to get people's guard down. I know they've got inside polls that are going to cameraman's listening to everybody. He's saying hi to all y'all. I'll just take a screenshot of that way. That way I can just read off his list. Instead of trying to scroll through the chats. But anyway, that by all indications, that's what's happening. We're all getting an education. A lot of us were already educated on what our system is like, how important it is to vote. But there are millions and millions of people, and I'd venture to say, a good portion of my audience, even if it's 30%, you're talking, 300 people or whatever. By the way, I'm knocking on the door of 1,000 subscribers. I want to thank all my new subscribers, and I am not going to I'm not going fool with monetizing the channel because that's going to just open the door for trouble. I mean, I got to watch every little thing I do anyway. So I might as well go ahead and say this is a viewer-supported and creator-supported channel only. And I got a link for Buy Me a Coffee in the description if you all want to help an old man out with his channel. But anyway, so I get to 1,000. I don't think I'm gonna fool with being beholden to UTISL or anything like that. No having them hold anything over my head, so to speak. So anyway, we're doing fine on our own. So 11 months from now, the primaries are going to start, really 10 months, I believe. And we're going to start picking people. So as I said, even if it's just 30% of my viewers start to think about local politics being so important in our lives, we've done something, and talking to our nieces, nephews, friends, and taking a look at our local governments, because this machine, what they always call the DS, it's deep, and the other word is state, it permeates on down. It's like the old saying in the service, what runs downhill. Well, it's the same thing with anything, chain of command or bad things. It all comes from the top and rolls downhill. And you get people in a system where they're being paid and they're being trained in a certain way. Deep down, they may know it's not conducive to the health of the Constitution or what's best for the nation. But if you have a media that is bought and paid for and talking in a mockingbird way, people can deceive themselves while they still keep getting largesse. And so really we got to take a look at our local governments. Hi, Ori. Nice to meet you. Hi, Quilt. And really pay attention to who are we dealing with at a local level just as strongly as we look at a national level. And I found it interesting. At one point, Trump started to get into the number of votes he felt he would get in the future. He even went so far as to say he thought there were 250 million Americans who don't want to put up with what's going on. Not saying he's going to get that many, okay? He was just saying he feels people that are unhappy with how things are going is 250 million. So that was an interesting thing because he said, who wants open borders? Who wants no ID? Okay? And you can take that in your conversations with your friends, who wants those two things? That's the things Trump brought up. But I can add on to that, who wants critical race theory taught or promoted in government? Basically taking one group of people and saying that they're inherently a problem because of their color. Nobody. Who wants the well, I got to find a delicate way to say it. Who wants the and don't put anything in chats, please. That'll get me in trouble. But who wants this affirming business? Okay, as far as gender, who wants this affirming business going on, especially with young people? If I got a diehard Trump hating friend, a diehard what these call blue dog Democrats, if it was a blue dog was a Democrat, they'd vote for the blue dog. That's where that comes from. So I tell them, is that what you want? You can go right down the list. And then wars. You want wars like we got going on now? Wars like we had before Mr. T came in? We had a 4-year period, unprecedented, where there was no violence and there was movement on peace. So it's easy to boil it down and codify it into very strong, not offensive talking points, mutual things that we can all agree on. So that's the exercise that we do, because one thing a lot of people say is, how frustrating it is, how uncomfortable it is, how stressful it is to talk to friends and family members about these things, because they didn't really, the people that hated Mr. T were grabbing hold of and retaining in their mind falsehoods. I'll give you an example. I was watching a video, and I forget who was being interviewed. It might have been Kevin McCarthy was being interviewed by Morning Joe, right? And Mika said, "Oh, well, how can you be supportive of Trump when you think about all the things he's done and the things he's said about people?" And you could see her mind was racing, and she said, "And Charlottesville," and then the other person started speaking. This was only about 2 or 3 weeks ago, and in my mind, she should have been jerked off the stage right then and there, because that is a proven lie. Once you find out that they edited those tapes and he did not say what they had been claiming he said about white, SUPERME, okay? He did not say that. They edited the tapes. They proved it. For her to say that, to infer that he was supportive of people like that, right there, that's in my mind, she broke the law and was behaving in an insightful manner. So you have the people that you're friends with and family members didn't like Trump because of these examples that were false. Russia. Those things are debunked. They're over with. What you have is exactly what I just laid out. A person who got rid of CRT, a person who got rid of the gender business in the military and with our young people, a person who did not have any wars, a person who had a great economy, okay, a person who wants voter ID, who does not want open borders, who wants to protect the country. Never mind about what you think he says. Take a look at what's indisputable that he's done. And when you can do that, it makes it much less stressful for you to talk about this stuff. Let me see what's going on here. Fetterman's hospitalization with depression, yeah. Well, there's always some. I got. Let me write that down. I'll talk about Fetterman here in a minute. Let me write that down somewhere so I don't forget. I found something interesting. I want you all to consider. Um, but I want to stay on my thread and what I'm talking about. So I wrote that down. So there you have, what is that? 2, 4, 5. You might as well say half a dozen if you put the economy in there, that are very simple, that interest everybody, that you can talk about without getting into emotion. The economy, open borders, IDs, CRT, gender stuff, and wars. Very simple. That he's got to beat hands down every issue, and a normal person cannot argue for these things, and it's getting boiled down to stark choices. You want to keep having wars. You want to keep having people pour over the border. You want to have people voting without any proof of who they are. You want young people to be in doubt about how they were born. Okay, you want the economy to be terrible. You want $9 eggs. Is that what you want? It's real simple. You don't have to like Trump. So anyway, it is a long process. And I was on Nikki's show earlier today, and I kind of had a thing in my brain where, well, gee, are we the few, that see? It gets frustrating, I know. But I haven't spent nearly as much time on getting the word out and trying to reach out as much as Mr. T has. I haven't sacrificed nearly what that man has sacrificed. So, but it is still daunting when you go out and you meet people, or you see in some other chats or even in my own chats, people making petty comments about Trump, not looking at the big picture. I mean, we're talking about with the young people. We're talking, as I've said in the past, about a humanitarian crisis. Don't they give a damn about that? When they talk about how many thousands of people in UKR are checking out, if you know what I mean. Over what? Over what? Protecting money laundering, protecting the BIOL, LABs, What are they thinking? And if I've got a friend I've had for a long time, I would talk to him that way. You mean you hate some real estate guy from New York so much that you'd rather see all that destruction over there and loss of life? You'd rather be paying all that money for eggs and bacon. You'd rather have children when they hit 20 and 21 years old, just like Mr. T said today, they go, oh my God, Mom, Dad, what did you let me do? What have you, all those things are very important to repeat. And there's something adults can talk about without getting in conflict and losing friends and losing tempers or anything like that. I should have read the comments under your live today. Oh, yeah, I'll look at if I get a chance. I'll go through. I can go through them after they post these comments. That's why I warn people. To be. I've said in the past that I want my broadcasts to be something, one that is somewhat of a documentary of historical events, and on top of what the main thing is, to help people get involved, see clearly what the issues are, not get distracted. But your comments can come up again and be repeated. And I want people to be able to go back and look at these broadcasts and read the comments. And I want them to be something you would not be afraid of your 12-year-old niece. Okay? I'll put it that way. 12-year-old niece was witnessing and seeing. So that's why I tell people not to speak in a way that is foul, or they come in the chats and they have the name of their channel is offensive. I don't put up with that kind of stuff. So if people want to take their legacy and put it down for history's sake as fools, let them be fools. But if they stink up my broadcast, they got to go. But yeah, I try to work with them. So anyway, yeah, another explosion today in Ohio. So there's a lot of stuff going on. Yeah, prayers for all that need it. That's a lot of people. Hi, Waking Trillium. Hi, Ronald. So, Mr. D had a very interesting speech. I know he rehashes stuff over and over again. Look, you got a very intelligent man. Bottom line is, I don't care what any naysayer says, anybody with smarmy insults against Trump. He is a genius. And he is the definition of a genius according to the science. Okay. And for him to be up there and repeat things over and over, it's redundant for him, but he does sprinkle some things in there that we need to pay attention to. He told us to keep our eyes open. And remember what our 17th letter said: see something, say something. Okay. So, those are the top issues that he was talking about. He did say that they used this C, and then the rest is VID. Okay, if you can enunciate those letters in your mind to form a word, they used it to take. Okay, I'll use the word take the selection. Okay, so that was a strong thing to say that needs to be said. This whole business about us having to cover our faces, all this stuff about not being able to go anywhere, shutting down people's businesses. It was used to take that select and then shun. But not only that, it was taken advantage of by criminal entities to disrupt our society. Because the bottom line is they want us to be paupers, okay? They want us to be paupers. They want to break the will of the nation, have a large part of the population turn in desperation to a bureaucratic machine, okay? That's right, Nikki. Please hit the thumbs up. Did y'all do that for me? You just look down there, it's a little hand with a thumb up. You just touch it, and it turns a different color. That's the way you do that. He also mentioned that right to try, okay? Giving people the right to try. I had a situation where a friend needed an MRI. And I won't get into what state it was or anything like that, but the state he was in, the MRIs cost $2,000. Approximately 40 miles over the state line into the next state, they had an imaging company that did them for $500. Now, the state law would not allow companies, private imaging companies, into their state. They had to be done at a hospital by state law. The neighboring state said, hey, you got the equipment, you can produce the images, the doctors think they're acceptable images, you can conduct business. So that's an example of stuff Trump has talked about in the past, where you have some states that, through lobbying by the medical system, uh, you have no competition, and those are the things he's trying to tear down. Okay, these barriers to competition, the right to try. And he said there were incredible medications being discovered or being recognized for other uses, and we know what they are. We know what they are. Now, before I get on to something else, how massive this undertaking is by Mr. T, and not him alone, of course. I have to say about many of the things I've discussed, removing these people from office, voting them out, that's one thing. The next thing that's going to come is, how did Maxine get a $3 million home? How did Nancy and her husband have 100% winning stock history of buying stocks and be worth hundreds of millions of dollars? All these things, I think, are going to be investigated. As Mr. T was saying, when somebody turns 20 or 21, they say, "Oh my God, Mom, Dad, what have you done to me?" I think that the physicians involved, I thought to myself earlier today, they should lose their license and never be able to practice again. Well, I say let nature take its course. Let them be able to bring suit against these doctors. Every one of them that's performed that type of action on someone that's young. And they'll be destroyed, okay? They'll be mopping floors at the mall or picking up cigarette butts, okay, at the shopping center or something like that. They won't be doing this anymore. But it's going to be a lot of work and a lot of effort, and it should be, we're going to have some very busy courtrooms, okay? Now, some of them might be so bad, that it's going to be worse than the financial problems they're going to face by their, what I'll say, victims, okay? But there's, you look at it, it's a buffet, okay, of criminal activity and abusive activity through a lot of spectrums, a lot of professions that have been infiltrated by people who, as we've heard before, don't have our good in mind. Yep, that's right. I'm reading some of these things. Chain gang, yeah, right. And then they go pick up cigarette butts after they get out of chain gang, if they ever do. So it's a complicated, long process, a long march, and I've used that term before. We're going to have a long march ahead of us. Now, I'm going to get into a little bit with our favorite letter, just scratch on a little bit, because that is what got us, a lot of us, okay, in the situation where we're all having this discussion right now, okay? Dan Scavino, he put out dog comms. And you remember when 17th Letter would put out a dog comm, which is some kind of something odd about a dog. You see a picture of a dog, and Dan Scavino would put out a picture of a dog and a little story that kind of didn't seem out of place or didn't make sense. And then something happened with George W. Bush, with John McStain, okay? And now Scavino put out some dog comms, and within 48 hours, 72 hours, whatever, Carter's in hospice. Now, I think Carter's a good man. I think he's a good person. I don't think he's part of the darker stuff that we all know is going on. But as I've said in the past, he was the dumbest smart man that was ever in the presidency, a very intelligent person about many, many things. But street smarts on the international scale, economic scale, he was dumb. He just didn't have it. He didn't have it. Very intelligent person, but he didn't have a wide breadth of knowledge. But anyway, I pulled up some posts, and I might jump off my screen here to go look at them, but it essentially discussed, just put in the word state funeral and hit it on that site, and you will see, I think it's 4 or 5 comms. And they refer to what investigations were passed over or ignored because of this state funeral. And there was a mention of D5, and everybody thought it was December 5th or all this kind of stuff. And the very top post, which is the last post, you always go to the bottom and read up, because the bottom post is the first post, okay? When you get to the top post, which is last post concerning state funerals, those 2 words, D5 is a declassification, okay, on a certain date, a form called D5. And it was when there was declassification of who was trying to set up General Flynn. But in the prior post, it was saying, that these events like a state funeral, there's other things besides state funerals that will draw attention away from either an investigation, a disclosure, or something of that nature. So, what do we have going on right now? Well, we got a lot of stuff. We got Fetterman in the hospital. We got what's happened in Ohio that they're ignoring. What's happened in Ukraine. Joe Biden going to Ukraine. We got Putin is going to give a speech that's going to be pretty, I'm sure, biting. He's already made a statement over the weekend, again, calling the Western powers satanic. You have the Disney comms, okay, which I'll have to go off my screen to read some more details about that were coming out. We had a lot of stuff coming out. And then all of a sudden you hear that Carter is in hospice, and I'm sure that they'll pick the time, okay? They'll pick the time. Now, it was mentioned earlier today that he may have already passed, but I checked, and last story by the time I went live was about 3 hours old from CNN, and it was saying that he talking about his hospice situation. It wasn't anything concerning his actual passing. So that's right, Ronald. Hospitals are expensive. And I tell you, I could do an entire broadcast. It would bore people, but I'll tell you, when Ross Perot left IBM Corporation, he digitized billing for Medicare and Medicaid. That was the beginning of bills tripling, doubling, tripling, quadrupling, and then getting astronomical. Whereas in the 1960s and 70s, you could go to the doctor and for $40, get your hand sewed up if you cut your hand real bad or something like that. Now you go sit in an emergency room. You have to do it by law. You can't go to the doctor's office for certain things. You're going to get a bill for at least $1,000. A couple of nights stay in a hospital. If you're not part of their system, it will bankrupt you. 28-year-old, worked for Disney. I see that, Shadow Dancer. Robin wants somebody to flip the switch. Flip it now. Yeah, that's, as I said, it's frustrating, because we're there. We're on the same page. We get it. We knew. We are the news. So, but I tell you, these people what was frustrating me earlier today, these people that don't even see it, don't even care. And there might be a point where we just got to say the heck with them, Kick and burr, Jesus will flip the table. It's good to see you too, Shadow Dancer. So let me see. Let me go back in here and take a look at what's on the. What do you think is going to be the next thing to crop up that a state funeral would put the lid on? Do you think this visit by Trump tomorrow is going to be worthwhile for them to announce? Because you got to remember, when Carter, nobody lives forever. He's in his mid-90s. When he passes away, we're going to have, if you remember, with McStain, and he wasn't even a president, days of television coverage, days. And with George Bush Sr., days of television coverage. It's going to gloss over a great many things. It's going to dominate the news whether we want it to or not. So what do you think it might be? Do you think Richard T., the man from Project, fired today, a good guy? Well, he was Project V, okay? I can't say the word, can't even say his name. And I unfollowed Project V on Truth Social and Twitter, as well as hundreds of thousands of people. And I followed James, okay? So I would strongly encourage you all to do the same thing. And if you were never following Project V, look James's name up, okay, on Twitter, and go ahead and subscribe to him, because things are going to be happening with him. And Ronald said they will bury Mr. T with Carter. Yeah. It would be DE4TH. Ronald, haha. See words like that. Okay, buddy? Seems everyone's unsubbed today. Yeah, that's true. I did. 200,000 down. Of course, Reba, it was because of them. It was because of Fizizzle. Fizizzle is what I'll say. But anyway, I know something the Epic Times put out. The Biden administration is preparing to sign up the U.S. to a, quote, legally binding accord with the WHO, okay, that would give this Geneva-based UN subsidiary the authority to dictate policies during a plan, and the other word is demic. Have you all heard that? That's going on. I read that today, and I haven't heard a word about it. I'm going to repeat part of that. The Biden administration is preparing to sign up the U.S. to a, quote, legally binding accord that will give them the authority to dictate U.S. policies. The WHO. So that's even worse than when the Obama administration tried to get us tangled up with some kind of thing concerning our GUNs, okay? Oh my God, Awaken Trillium, that is horrible. Why would they, you're right. I mean, I give the man respect. I don't appreciate his presidency. I don't. He 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 was a patsy. He got in there after they did the coup on Nixon. He was installed. Oh, Rob, don't let it get you upset, honey. I know. I mean, it is upsetting when they put stuff out like that. Um, and it's senseless that they even put that in a story. But anyway, I saw a thing on UTizzle by 4 News Now that said Idaho. How many of you heard this? Idaho lawmakers are looking into adding criminal charges for anyone who administers a MR, and the other 2 letters are NA jab. Okay. HB 154. It would amend Idaho state code by adding a new section to penalize anyone administering stuff like that. Okay. So that's some kind of movement. They're making it a misdemeanor, but it's criminal. But I think that farther up the chain, in other words, they're not going to give, Susie, the nurse at a clinic that doesn't know her backside from third base, a great punishment. But the higher ups, I think, are going to get the worst treatment. So that is something. You reported it over the weekend. Okay, thank you, Nikki. Carter was a black eye clubber. Well, when you get up in your 90s, I've had friends that made it to 100. You look at them to get bruised. Some of them, that's the way, I don't know how old that photo was, but if it was anywhere when he was in his 80s and beyond, I wouldn't put too much stock in that. Of course, you never know who's a black eye clubber. And if anybody doesn't know what that is, go on Duck, and then the other part is Duck and Go, and look it up. The Babylon Bee put up Project V resigns from Project V. In other words, making a joke that they pretty much fired themselves because that man is Project V. As of 2/21/23, Russia has no border. Well, that's they're pretty much saying that, if they keep going the way they're going, Russia's going to say, hey, the accords were violated, the Minsk Accords, the agreements signed under Yeltsin, all that stuff is going to go in the trash pail. And the other thing that I warned about months ago is Poland is putting out statements from their State Department that they're considering annexing portions of the UKR, okay, supposedly to protect those areas from the Bears, which is RUSSIA. Okay. That's right. Poland on deck. And I said months ago that historically, ever since the Golden Hordes, the Mongols, that territory of Ukraine's been kicked back and forth between the Poland, Lithuanian Empire, and the Russo-Russian Empire. Okay, it's always been back and forth, or a piece of it owned by Poland, a piece of it owned by Russia, or one have it all, the other have it all. And for a brief time, the Germans had total control of it after World War I. So now they've said they're going to annex certain parts of Ukraine. They're thinking about it, which means they're probably going to do it. And Ukraine's going to be split up again. And then the report came out that Biden offered, and it's documented. He said, "Well, you can have 20% of. How about that? 20? You want 20% of it?" So, yeah, I've got a list of recent disasters as of yesterday, I believe, and they're just adding on to it more. Maybe Putin's declaration is he declares the people's war against the entire West. Uh, he's saying that it's a de facto WAR Russia versus the Western powers. The Westerns, and he said satanic, okay, powers. And he included the United Kingdom, the United States, called them out by name. That's right, Roy. If they go back to 45, then Poland's gone too to the bears. And that's why High Wolf Pack, that's why Poland better be very careful with what they do. If they violate the NATO treaties with with Russia, if they give lethal offensive weapons, okay, they can give blankets, they can give pots and pans, they can do, but they're at a point where they're dancing on the edge, okay. But February 2nd, polyvinyl spill, Ohio. The third, 500-gallon acid leak in Ohio. The 11th, fuel pipeline leak in California. 13th, two things, hazmat train crash, Texas, hazmat train crash, South Carolina. The 14th, a nitric acid spill in Arizona. 15th, a chemical tank fire, Oklahoma. 16th, 5-acre warehouse fire in Florida. So, and I'm sure there's more piled on top of that. When you think about it, and just before all this stuff happened, what were they talking about doing? Outlawing gas stoves. For the uninitiated, people who tune in this broadcast say, "What's that old man talking about?" I'll tell you what I'm talking about. They want to outlaw gas stoves. I've got a portable camping stove. I've got a wood stove. They're already working on outlawing wood stoves and fireplaces, barbecues. But if the power goes out, summertime or whatever, and I can cook food, I can boil water for coffee, I can do all kinds of things. But no, you're totally reliant on the power grid. Good luck living out in the country, okay? Or trying to get off the grid. They're not going to let you, okay? If they can say no wood stoves, no gas stoves, say I'm going to go off grid. Why are you going to cook your food if you're sitting there and you go to make a cup of coffee or cook a chicken or something over a campfire or a wood stove and they're banging on your door? The EPA is banging on your door. Then that gets into the 15-minute cities. I won't get into all that stuff, but that's where they're driving us to. They want us to be paupers. They want us to own nothing. They just don't know how to make us get to that point and be happy, okay? Because nobody can be happy under those unnatural conditions. Let me see what everybody's talking about. You got a huge propane two burner. Yeah. Well, if they outlaw gas stoves, what does that mean? They'll outlaw gas. And for all these psycho climate change characters, why do they think they call it natural gas? Okay. It comes out of the flipping ground. In many countries, they use the methane from their own septic systems, okay? Because it's constantly producing gas. Why do they think horse poop smells, cow poop, or anything like that? Where do you think the odor comes from? A gas. Okay, so these people are insane. The scientists are bought off, and I said before that climate cult and the gender cult needs to be outlawed. It is not an issue of freedom of speech. You're not free to spread lies and defraud people, whether it's defraud people from their money, defraud people out of their freedoms, defraud people out of their sanity, their use of natural resources through lies. It's fraudulent. And that's the way it needs to be put out there. Not a question of free speech. Melvita, what NATO is? Oh, we're talking to somebody in the chats? NATO is a PIA. NATO has been taken over, or was actually a construct of Marxists. Okay, they've taken it over, either that or they have started it. It started out really under Wilson as the League of Nations, and many of you who have been with me for a while will know that Wilson was the president who helped pass the 16th Amendment, the first time in American history where your personal wealth could be taken by the government. There was no personal property tax. There was no, personal income tax. For the first 150 years of this country, you earned your money, you kept your money. The government funded itself through tariffs and other mechanisms. They started this tax business every time when there was a war. This was for World War I. And Wilson said afterwards that he single-handedly destroyed this country when he allowed the 16th Amendment to go through. And the reason I brought him up is because he helped form the League of Nations. And he fought bitterly to get the United States to be irrevocably tangled up with the whims of the League of Nations. That's another story I'll get into another time. But that morphed itself into what we now call NATO. Okay? So, the 16th Amendment is poison. It says that they can tax a citizen for any income, any amount of that income from any source. In other words, if they wanted to, they could make you report when you get a birthday card from grandma and you open it up and a $10 bill falls out, you got to report it, okay? Because they want their cut. They have the power to do that. And you tell me that's freedom. You tell me that's not enslavement. Because on the flip side of it, they can also do what they're doing now, decide who gets that money and who doesn't get that money. Okay? The elephant in the room is Ohio. And $100 billion to Ukraine. They're promising jets. They're promising anything. I've got a bunch of stuff about UKR that I can't get into because, well, I'll go over tonight. How about that? How about that, folks? We'll go over. Yeah, Melvia. Yeah, I just talked about NATO and the League of Nations, and President Wilson, League of Nations, and then that fell apart after World War One. Pay dirt, North Carolina, North Dakota, more gas by itself than Saudi Arabia. Yeah, that's the thing too, folks. This business of they everybody's saying, well, why did Biden shut down the pipeline? Okay, why did our country since the 1970s prohibit this country from exporting oil? Why did this country prohibit exploration? Okay, it's not environmental. It's not environmental because we use just as much anyway. We got to spend more money and give other countries power over us. Because the bottom line is they're pushing toward making us dependent, making us ride around in battery-operated cars, turning us into 15-minute cities, discouraging living out in the country. You know, after the Bolshevik Revolution, they went out into the hinterlands. They went out to villages, and they either played ball with co-op farms or they got their villages burned down. They don't want people living independently. They want them producing for the state, okay? And that's what it's getting down to. You're more controllable, you're more manageable, and they can take advantage of your ability to produce. So in NATO is a conglomeration of Marxist influences from each country that have infiltrated their way, much like they've done in this country, where they have a bureaucratic administrative state. You look what happened to Mr. T. He's being criminally threatened. He's being menaced. He's being harassed by bureaucrats, unelected bureaucrats that have been activated by foreign influences. Georgie Porgy Soriosio prosecutors, okay? These Marxist judges, even at the local level. I was in a situation one time where I was dealing with a piece of property, and the so-called planning administrator, whatever little goofball title he had, was making comments that sounded like they were written by Saul Alinsky. And I asked the county administrator, I said, when did this guy get hired? He said, well, he's been around for, well, I think it was 4 years, something like that. I said, where'd he go to school? Where'd he go to college? Columbia? Harvard? I can't tell you that. We have to keep their information like that private. I said, wait a minute. He's a public servant on the payroll. I'm a taxpayer. And I can't see what his work history was. I can't see what his resume. No, we have to keep that private. So you can have a Marxist person on in your county or town planning and zoning who will actively work against you with a bunch of phony climate change crap in their head, okay? And you can't say a damn thing about it. And what they did, I talked about in the 90s, when they started this push to make county and town governments across this country uniform in their bureaucratic structure, where you have town managers in some little podunk town that are imported. You don't know where they came from, where they went to college. Many of the positions I mentioned, you have people involved in revenue, collecting revenue, and stuff like that have strong Marxist backgrounds. As far as I'm concerned, if they went to Columbia, Harvard, Berkeley, anything like that, there's a strong chance that they have communist leanings. And in the 90s, they started doing a uniform method of constructing these little local governments to basically toe a Marxist line, an environmentalist line. Okay, they got them. They didn't get them all, but they got quite a few of them, and they would pump these people out of these colleges and prep them to go to different towns and counties into administrative positions. You think I'm crazy? Ha. Yeah. Okay. Maybe what we're dealing with Mr. T and the White Hats, maybe they'll take and have a study about that. I'm certainly going to make noise about it because I've seen it happen. You could very well have, as your county administrator or your planning and zoning, a person, or in your tax offices, people that have a Marxist view. That's right, Karen. We never heard a thing from the environmentalists because they don't give a damn. Hi, Patriot. Patriot Missile, how you doing? So anyway, chaos is the rule for them. They want our lives to be in chaos, but they want to be in control. They want to dictate the smallest things. I'll tell you one thing. I saw a interesting post from a news source in the East, was that Iran sent today a large cargo plane that flew from Tehran to Moscow on a repeat regular visit. Over the past 10 days, this is already the fourth visit of this cargo aircraft to the Russian capital. Earlier, another Iranian transport aircraft flew to Russia, a Boeing 747 of Saha Airlines. What the cargo is on these planes is unknown, but the traffic of Iranian Air Force is very impressive. So there's something going on there where you got multiple cargo trips. I don't know what Monkey Works got to say about that. Thank you, Gloria. I appreciate it. So what my suggestion was to look up. Now I just wrapped that up with Marla to look up League of Nations, look up Woodrow Wilson, look up 16th Amendment. Okay. Now, so the other thing, what's going on, I'm going to touch on Ukraine, and because things are getting ready to blow, there's going to be a big speech by Mr. Putin. Now, I don't know if we're going to get to hear about it or not as far as regular Americans, but I'll be able to find out stuff, and I know Nikki has some sources. Bambi says, a therapist agreed today that we are under attack in this country. Yes, and it started a long time ago, but they started making it local in the 90s, okay? Beefing up local governments and creating a bureaucratic state at a micro level. But anyway, according to, let's see, this is some economists, the EU embargo on Russian oil products and the price ceiling posed by Western countries. Russian oil companies increased oil refining in February by 1% to almost 787,000 tons a day. So that's coupled with another thing I put out about their oil exports. They they exported less oil and they made more money. Oh, somebody smells a F. Use a false and then in the next letters FLAG. But you're new, Em, so do me a favor when you put the word like that flag, use a 4 for A, okay? And that way the machine won't get me, the algo. And then the other part is rhythm, because they look for that stuff like that. False and the other word being flag, that is something that they FLAG. NATO countries have transferred to Ukraine 1,170 air defense systems, 440 tanks, 1,510 infantry fighting vehicles, 655 artillery systems since December of 2021. Now, that's not stuff that's been promised. That's stuff that's been delivered. According to the data of the Foreign Intelligence Service, most of this equipment has already been destroyed. So you know what that reminds me of? The military version, international military version of the cash for clunkers. You remember that? Cash for clunkers. What was that doing? When they did that, there were economists putting out condemnations that there was no benefit to taking a perfectly good, serviceable asset and destroying it. But everybody that had pickup trucks or Crown Victorias or station wagons that were perfectly good and running, they got money and tax breaks if they turned them in, and the dealers that took these cars had a chemical they would pour in the engine block that would destroy the engine on perfectly serviceable vehicles. And it had nothing to do with how the car ran. It was all based on style of vehicle, age of vehicle, and they destroyed the secondary car market. Why? And spent my money, your money, everybody else's money to do it. I didn't get a thing out of cash for clunkers, but we sure in the heck started paying for it. So we've got all this military equipment they're sending over there, and it's just getting destroyed, not as fast as it can be delivered, but PDQ pretty darn quick after it gets there. So what does that mean? What does it mean when they started destroying these so-called clunkers? Well, supply and demand. People are going to need cars, and they're going to need second cars, and their little tax credit they got to go buy a brand new car, which, by the way, has electronic systems that the old cars didn't have. They can track your every move and mile. Just watch the Murdoch case, where the OnStar can tell when you put it in park, when you stepped on your brake, how fast you were going, where you were. Anyway, so all these so-called clunkers that didn't have that ability to surveil you ended up in the trash heap, and they took my money to do it. But they also created more demand for vehicles and artificially created sales through tax breaks that, again, you and I paid for people to be ignorant with their assets. Take a perfectly good asset and somebody waves something shiny under their nose, a few bills, and they let it be destroyed, and they get a new vehicle that costs them what, $30,000-$40,000 because somebody waves something under their nose. And it's also something that can track your every move. Well, with the armament, all the stuff's got to be replaced. And hey, no different than cash for clunkers. You take something and destroy it, you get paid to get a new one. And that's what happened with this Biden visit to Kiev. Their discussions for now will not be publicly disclosed. I'm sure some nonsense double talk, but it's going to be billions more of our money going over there and more lethal weapons. But a lot of people don't think about that business with the cash for clunkers. They had vehicles that they couldn't track, that they couldn't all of a sudden make go 90 miles an hour like Ann Hesch's vehicle, okay? That they couldn't tell you every second what you were doing and saying and where you were, like in the Murdoch case. You had quality vehicles like a Crown Victoria or a Lincoln Continental or, something like that. A lot of them with low miles, pristine cars Dad used to drive, but they didn't have that kind of technology where they can spy on you, okay? But that's what they ended up buying and putting themselves in debt on some BS car loan, which is what we're doing, putting ourselves in debt with this Ukraine business, but we're not purchasing anything but trouble. Miss Mindersu, how you doing? Nice to meet you. Buy dumb is a cash for clunkers. Yeah, yep. Yeah, limit emojis to 3, and capital letters are considered hollering by Utizzle. I have to get a clip from that young guy that does videos. He went over everything that they changed the rules for stuff they can demonetize. Like I said, I'm not going to get monetized. I don't want to be beholden to them and just put a spotlight on me. So that's why I bring up the Buy Me Coffee link, because it's the only support I get is from you all. And I'll put my thank you up to everybody. Let me see. Thanks to everybody that's helped with the Buy Me a Coffee. This month it was Aaron and somebody won. Wanda chipped in right at the finish line last month. I appreciate it. And Robin's help, Kristen, Sandy, Norman, Dory, Pamela, Nikki B, Cameraman Simpson, Mac, Canis Cleaning, Killer Fuzz. Somebody won. I think it was somebody too got me this month. But appreciate all y'all's help. So anyway, demonetizing is not a concern for me, but they will take the channel down if there's too much monkey business going on, what they think is monkey business. David Hutchinson. So, Mr. T. Okay. He was the only one, wasn't he? David, you've missed a lot of my past broadcasts, buddy. What Mr. T considered to be a V3X. He considered certain treatments just as effective as a V3X. And they didn't even approve that with the Operation Warp Speed till after the election, and he was in office less than 60 days or around 60 days. And what they did after he left is another issue altogether. So, David, I'm just pointing out, he said certain treatments were the same as a V3X. Said it multiple times. I see, I mentioned to buy me a coffee again, and about 10 people dropped off. Well, oh well. James has over 1.25 million subs. Oh, good for him. Best revenge is success. Success is the best revenge. Miss Mindersu has a Toyota Camry 2006, 50K. Ha ha ha. That's one of the best you can get, a Toyota Camry. So I don't know if David heard me, or he just came in and put a comment in and left. Are y'all still with me? Am I broadcasting or what? That's right. He gave everybody a choice, Kicking Bird says. And not only that, but not only a choice whether to do it or not, but what type of V3X. Okay. When he went to Walter Reed, I think it was, when he came down actually with it, he took Regeneron. All right, Tennessee, thank you, buddy. I appreciate it. Tennessee pitched in. Sometimes I get notices and sometimes I don't. Thank you. I did get a notice. Thank you, Tennessee. Thank you, Wanda. Okay, that's Wanda took care of me an hour ago. And I just got the notices when Tennessee kicked in. Thank you both very much. I have to get my little, I get on my other, now I want to tell y'all folks, when I put up my picture show, and my new subscribers won't know this, but I have a different app I use where I put up videos and I put up pictures, and I don't get the exposure and the views because I think the UTizzle has an agreement maybe with StreamYard where they put my videos out there more when I use StreamYard than when I use the one with the picture show. So what I'm thinking I'm going to do, folks, is maybe on Sunday nights I'll tell you all whether I'm going to do a picture show or not, and that way, even if they don't promote me because I'm not using StreamYard, you'll still know on Sundays it'll be a picture show because I got a lot of memes, I got a lot of jokes and stuff I put in there. I put some of them up on Truth and the Other Word is Social every now and then, little video clips and memes that you might find funny and you can throw around. And of course, when I get mad about something, I make a comment on Truth and the Other Word Social. Now, I forget what I'm even. I'm a Mountain Man. Oh shoot. Is it Mountain Man Says or Mountain Man Speaks? I think it's at Mountain Man Speaks on Truth Social, but I got the picture of the Batman Trump symbol, orange silhouette of Trump in a Batman emergency signal on there. Mountain Man Speaks or Mountain Man Says. At Mountain Man Speaks or Mountain Man Says. I'm under Mountain Man. So anyway, y'all go in there and give me some hearts or share my, I only got like 80 followers, so yeah, David, I'm sorry for your loss too, buddy. I'm sorry for your loss. Yeah, he said it out of office. I mean, but he did say that he thought the other treatments was equivalent to a vaccine. You pleaded with her not to take it. It's heartbreaking. And I've said in the past that these people are going to get sued is the least of their worries, you know, but money can't touch a sibling. I mean, a sibling is part of you, and we know that, buddy. And I don't. It's something that you're right to bring it up, and you're right to tell people, because people need to know. People need to know. So anyway, um, many of your family laughed at you for being against it. That's right, Wolfak. It was and David begged her. So when it's a loved one, a sibling, you know, you always trust your family. I mean, I'm looking at a picture right now. Like if I was doing a picture show, I'd put it up because this is on UTizzle. News 19 WLTX shows a 13-year-old awake and talking after surviving a stroke. And I'm looking at the boy's picture, and it's awful. I mean, even if I was doing a picture show, I wouldn't want to put that up, even though it's on UTizzle, okay? Because you see this poor little soul there, and his face is twisted, and it's from a reputable news source, and his life is ruined, and people, well, not ruined, but limited, severely limited. And Tennessee's had some losses. He lost a sibling also, plus his son in 22. But somebody left a great comment, and I put it up on my community page. And if you get a chance, if you go to my channel, you slide that top bar over where it says live stream videos, whatever. You slide it over, and you'll see a button for community. And I have community posts. I see I had about 40 some. I didn't have nearly that many people notice it as I have subscribed, but I'll put up community posts with things that are funny and memes and alerts when I'm going to go live or when I can't go live. So this was one I put up when I thought I was going to get to go live, and then I found out I couldn't. But somebody left a good comment that got me to think and respond in a way that I think will help us all communicate. I blacked the name out and said, I think NASA has lied to us. I wasn't even supposed to say NASA. If they're lying about little things, then why wouldn't they lie about something that big? Talk about NSA lying to us when the balloons and everybody worried about UFOs. And I said, yeah, they're lying. So we can all prattle about space creatures instead of who stole our freedoms, why our schools are havens for deviants, why our money is being devalued, how our local governments are being turned into bureaucratic fiefdoms, why our medical systems are a disgrace, how news outlets are run by Marxists, and how our speech is suppressed, and on and on. Yeah, they lie. So, I was able to put that all down in a tidy comment in response and put it up there. So, y'all get a chance, take a look at my community page and Let me see. David's saying why. I guess he's responding to someone. Oh, your devices don't allow you to read the community pages. I'll be darned. If you're subscribed and hit notifications, they should show up. My community posts should show up. Yeah, the picture show is good, Wanda. I enjoy doing them. Takes a lot of time. I appreciate, again, Wanda, I appreciate you helping me out, and I appreciate you, Tennessee, helping me out, and everybody that's helped me out on the Buy Me a Coffees. So, anyway, yeah, I would put a picture of that community post I put up. So I've got a bunch of stuff about what Victoria Newland says, but she's the one on that video that I play, where they ask her, are there any BIOLABS in Ukraine? And she goes, yeah, Victoria Newland talking about the how we have to give. It's necessary to give Ukraine, quote, the armed forces of the future that would be able to deter the bears even after the end of the conflict. She stressed that no matter how the conflict is resolved, as long as Putin or someone like him, quote, remains in power, there is no certainty the conflict will not resume. According to her, the West should support the creation of Ukraine of an integrated air defense system, high-class border forces, and capabilities for patrolling its own sea waters. So she's talking about giving them everything while we've got hundreds of miles open where people cross whenever they want. They're giving away all of our ammunition, all of our production capabilities are being put towards supplying Ukraine and billions of dollars, and she wants to give them a state-of-the-art ability with Russia, and intimating that Putin needs to go. So that's going to do nothing but inflame. This was yesterday or today she said that. Oh, I tell you, I got some news about about South America. They're cracking down in the country we're talking about, Brazil. Okay, but there's a ray of hope here from El Salvador. El Salvador, population of 6 million, has gone 300 days without any homicides. Okay, the title of this article is El Salvador vows gang crackdown will go on as citizens cheer safer streets. Okay, so they've had a crackdown. I did a story about it months and months ago where they did mass arrests in El Salvador, and the crackdown has been continuing, and they have not had any homicides in 300 days with a population of 6 million. Before the current president took over, it was considered one of the most dangerous places in the world. There were 382 homicides in the city of Los Angeles last year, 3.8 million population. El Salvador has the lowest red rum rate in the Americas. What's behind this unprecedented drop in violence? A crackdown on gangs. In other words, cartels. Okay. And the name of that president who's very good friends with Mr. T, Bukele, Bukele. In March 2002, the Salvadoran Legislative Assembly passed a state of emergency, suspending some fundamental rights in response to a peak in gang violence. The measure has been extended 10 times and remains in place. Police officers and soldiers have detained over 61,000 people since March, according to authorities. And only 3,000 have been released so far, and about 58,000 remain in custody. So they arrested 60-some thousand people. And the one thing I've been meaning to mention in other broadcasts is we know that the military is the only way, right? Well, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's just the American military. This article says police officers and soldiers, you're going to have a hard time with just a civilian police force rounding up 61,000 people. But they've gone 300 days without any homicides. Okay? And in Los Angeles, there were 382 over one a day last year, with a little more than half the population. So that is showing everybody paying attention. Oh, I got it. That's right. Nikki, I'm sorry. I know you got to go to bed, honey. Let's see. But anyway, folks, I've got some more stuff in the hopper where I can talk about tomorrow. And sorry I went so long. I was going to go about an hour and 15 minutes, but I started talking. Next thing you know, a half hour's gone by. But that's because I appreciate y'all being with me, and I enjoy talking to you. Is this a dating site? I'm looking for the love of your life. Knock Andrew. We don't want to knock you, Andrew. You sound like a nice person. And I don't know. There's a lid for every pot, Andrew. That's what a friend of mine used to say. There's a lid for every pot. So keep looking, brother. All right, folks. I appreciate y'all helping me out with the Buy Me a Coffee, and I appreciate y'all giving me your what? Your precious time. And David, thank you for sharing with us, and also Tennessee. And we're thinking about you guys and everybody that suffered a loss over this hopefully temporary insanity, mass insanity that we're dealing with. And stay strong, folks. And keep looking, Andrew. Lid for every pot. All right, you all have a great night, and I'll be talking to you soon. This is Mountain Man, over and out.